Hello everyone, welcome back here to Canning Farms, and this is a video that I didn't want to make to be coming back with, but it's a big issue here on the farm, so I'm going to make it. So I am standing in front of a shed and there's 2 pens of cattle, 10 in total, and fine, big, in-calf, pedigree Holstein heifers. But there is a problem, and that problem is those little brass tags in the rear. That means these cattle have TB. So I'm locked down, I've gone down with TB. Before we get into the main bit of the video, what exactly is TB? Well, TB is a bacterial infection which mainly affects the lungs. It can be transmitted from cattle to humans, that's why we test for it. Humans originally, it co-developed with humans, and then it made that jump then to cattle, and then it also made a jump then into other species such as badgers and deers. That's why in Ireland it's so hard to get rid of, because you get rid of it in humans, you get rid of it, well, you haven't got rid of it in cattle, but you're trying to get rid of it in cattle, but it'll always come back because other wildlife have it, you have no control over. So the way they dealt with it here was, years ago you just died and someone developed antibiotics. It's very costly. We got rid of it in humans between antibiotics, other medications, putting people into places called sanatoriums or TB hospitals where you're just left to die basically. But eventually then we got rid of it in humans through vaccines and different things like that. In cattle then it brings us on to this issue, which is the TB eradication program or scheme or whatever they want to call it. The biggest waste of time and load of shite that has ever been developed. It has been going on now for 30-40 years and just doesn't work, and TB is getting out of control. So the way they've been trying to get rid of it in cattle is mainly through testing and by culling any affected animals. So the way the test is, they shave 2 parts of the animal's neck, and I don't know if you can see it there in the camera, but you might be able to see a lump on the... I can't, she's gone. But basically they put 2 injections into a cow's neck. Top one is an avian tuberculosis and the bottom is bovine tuberculosis. Top one is just a control, so if you have a top lump it's no issue. If you have a bottom lump, that is an issue. If you have one by itself, it's a reactor. It means it's positive for TB. If it has 2 lumps, they measure the 2 lumps, and I think it's 4 mil the difference between the top one. If the bottom one is 4 mil bigger than the top one, then you have TB as well. There is also a blood test. The blood test is more accurate, but they just don't do it, which I don't understand. There is something that I question about both tests, and that is that you're not actually testing for tuberculosis itself. You're testing for the antigens of tuberculosis. But if both tests are inaccurate and not testing for the thing that's supposed to be tested for, you have to question the validity of it, and you also have to question how accurate these things are. Would you not be better off if you are having an eradication program to eradicate the problem? Test for the problem, and if it's a world of pain for a year or 2, just do it. They've already spent this year, I think, €100 million on compensation for cattle. Last year in Ireland, from this time till June, there was about 25,000 cases of TB, which was up from the year before. This year, just till June, there is 44,000 confirmed cases of TB in cattle in Ireland. It's getting outrageous. I think last year, it ended up at like 60,000 or something by the end of the year. This year, I'd say it'll be close on, obviously, if only half is through the year. And a lot of people haven't tested, because a lot of people test either going to the mart at the end of the summer when they're selling their calves, or when they're buying in, going into the shed, because obviously it's handier, they're in the sheds, you can test then. So what is it going to be like in September, October time, when people actually, the majority of people test? We could be up on 80 or 90,000. And they're already saying that they're running out of money, or that there's no money in the funds for this. Where's the money coming from? Or what are they going to do about it? So before I get into the costs to me, to the original farmers, to the future incomes, I'm just going to go through the steps of from contract rearing what actually happens when you go down with TB, and it is exactly the same process as if you are gone down with TB with your own herd. So these cattle have all been obviously positive. They get a brass tag in the rear. That tag is recorded along with their tag number. That is sent off to the Department of Agriculture. These animals have to be brought in or separated into a group, and these will be picked up and sent to a factory and culled and killed. like I said earlier on, you get a letter from the factory, you get a payment from them, usually a skip payment, even though the meat is being used, but we won't go into that. They get a skip payment, so basically they said they're throwing in the skip. They're not throwing in the skip. You get about €300 or €400, and then the department pay the rest. Now, I have to say, in fairness, the picking up and getting them off the farm is a very quick process. They'll be gone this week, so I will say that it is working that side. The other financial side of it, this started, my first animals went down in May. I got paid for that first group of animals last Friday, so in the middle of August. So May, June, July, August. Nearly, you could say 4 months, 3-4 months. That's not good enough. It's all right for me who, look, these aren't my cattle, the compensation sent on to the owners, but for them it's a big problem. But look, we'll stop at that anyway. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Right, so the process is these get picked up, all these are gone, they're killed. Then the sheds all have to be washed and quarantined, and disinfected. So every time I've gone down with TB or whatever tested, we've done it 3 times now. Each time sheds have to be clean, disinfected, and my herd is locked up, which means that I cannot sell animals unless they're going to the factory to be killed, and I cannot buy in heifers, which has caused problems for me, which again we'll get into in a few minutes. I'm using a disinfectant called FAM 30. It's on the list of approved disinfectants for the farm. These cattle are outside all the time, so disinfecting the sheds, what is the point? Like, I understand getting rid of the muck, but disinfecting the sheds and all that, they're not in yet, they're not being housed, but that's just the procedure of it. So for contract rearing, then the compensation comes to me eventually, and then I will give it to the owner of the cattle. In fairness, I have to say, the price of cattle, they're thereabouts on it, but these cattle are very expensive, these ones here, so it'll be interesting to see whether they quib on that or whether I will get payment on it. It's the 3rd time that I've gone down, and a lot of heifers have gone down. There's 19 in total over 3 tests. That means that I'm just going to push for a blood test. Yes, it will probably mean that more heifers will go down, but it just means that I'm getting rid of everything in the system rather than wait for it to show up on a skin test, which takes around 60 days. But talk about now some of the financial costs and, well, I suppose, other costs associated with going down with TB. For me personally, we're going to start off with me, and then we're going to talk about the other people involved. But for me personally, I have 20 cattle here on the farm for myself that are my own cattle. I had an embryo transfer heifer that I was trying to get into the herd, and it has taken me 2 months to get her in, and eventually just got through to a person that just understood the situation, and it's been resolved now. That embryo heifer was implanted and was due for picking up the week I got locked down, and I've had to physically bring her in, so she's been tested here on the farm, the last test, so therefore she's clear obviously, but that was a big issue, was trying to get her in because they've locked down the movements. Other issues, I have an embryo calf from last year, the one you've seen being calved there. I was hoping that maybe over the summertime that just she mightn't win anything, or she wouldn't have won anything, but just to bring her to a couple of shows and to get away from the farm and have a bit of crack at the shows and stuff like that. Couldn't bring her anywhere. Felt awful disheartened, so I didn't bother even going to any shows myself. I have other cattle then, like we have the Dexter calves from last year that should be killed by now and gone. I have a couple of cull cows there. I have another calf from a cow that heifer actually that she kind of broke her leg, fractured her leg, but she's sound, she hobbles around and she's raised a calf. That calf would have been gone probably the end of August, start of September, and her mother would have been culled. So all of them have financial implications. I was hoping to bring that embryo calf. If I didn't keep her, I was hoping to show her for the summer and bring her to Carrick. Carrick and Shannon is a big sale of them kind of show type cattle and kind of muscly cattle. And she would have made okay money at that. That's another financial thing that's gone. So now I'm going to keep her and breed her. But it's all adding up. So me personally, probably from just sales, I've probably lost out on around 10,000 euro from sales of cattle this year, because this isn't going to get resolved this side of Christmas, I don't think. As well as them cattle that have to go, I have a few cattle. I have this heifer here, was used as an embryo transfer. She didn't hold, or she wasn't in heat the time they came to implant the embryos, so she's being kept for embryo transfer for next year. I also have another embryo heifer, that one with the white head at the back. Again, she was implanted, but after get her scanned, I don't think she's held. They're two there that if I was clear with TB, they'd be going straight to the factory just to get culled. They would have got serious money this time, or probably maybe that white-headed one will be held on for an embryo transfer next year, but we'll see how it goes. Then we're on to the second man's, which is, this is another crowd that I'm rearing for. So these Frisian heifers that are through here, these have all been blooded already, so they're clear of TB. All my cattle are clear of TB now at this stage, my own cattle. So these, there is 6 heifers left out of 14. So that man sent down 14 heifers to me. His own herd got locked up, so meant that I had to test. So out of the heifers he sent me, 8 went down out of the 14. So that man is down, first of all, 8 heifers, so 8 replacements that he has to go and buy. Replacement heifers at the minute, if you go for a crossbred, you're probably looking at between 2,000 and 2,500. If you're looking for a pedigree animal, anywhere from 3 up. So say 8,000 at 3, that's 24,000 just for 8 heifers straight away he has to buy. I can guarantee you he's not going to get that in the compensation. Second of all, you're looking at the loss of performance from bringing them in and out of the shed. You lose a few days performance, feck all, but still something that should be thought about. And then thirdly, then you're looking at the future milk and the past work that has gone into raising that animal. So that man has paid me to look after those animals. Now I know they're only here for a while, but paid me to look after them animals. He's out that money. He's out the future milk price of the cattle. So these cattle obviously are not going to go to him and are not going to be producing anything. So therefore, about 6 months or 9 months when they were due to start calving, he's just lost them. So then he's down money from that. As well as that, there is the other tolls that I'm going through, that he's going through. The stress of trying to replace these animals, the stress of being locked up, the stress of getting no straight answers, or a cause of this, or just being met with wall after wall of, it's not my issue, it's not my problem, I don't know, that's just the system, it's just not fair. So now we're on to the third group and the biggest group on the farm, and this is the biggest customer that I have on the farm. 108 animals on the farm from them. We have a group here, and then the other group there is over on the hill. So all these heifers now that are on my farm, that were bought for a reason, bought for a special contract, won't get into the details of it, but they're no good now for that contract. That means that the people who own these are out. The money they've paid me, the money and time it took to pay their staff to go and buy these heifers, the future earnings of any cattle that they've lost, and also the money for the reason why they were bought. Now these can be still sold, obviously they're still great heifers, nothing wrong with them, but they're just stuck here now because they're stalled. None of these have TB, none of these cattle have TB, but because the farm is locked up, that means there that none of these can move. So that's put an added extra hassle on them. Big operation, and yet something like this has just caused problems for them. And again, they're running into the same issues that all of us are running into, and smaller men. The only reason I can think of that, and the only main reason why they're still testing for TB, it's not for human to bovine exposure, because a lot of people, they aren't actually in contact with cattle. It's only farmers really, and even at that, a lot of people now are part-time. They're only handling their cattle once or twice a year, and a lot of the dairy fellas are gone automatic as well. So, but it's mainly for a thing that you can tick a box on a paper of an export form to say that we are a country that has a TB eradication program, but there's not a disclaimer on the bottom of that saying that's not fucking working. It's there so that it can be another advertisement for all these places, and I don't know what the answer is, whether either we stop TB testing or whether we just go straight in with the bloods and cull hard. I don't know what it is. Fucking smarter people than me will come up with it, but the problem is that there's stupider people than me making up this fucking policy. We have a Minister of Agriculture who was more interested in a photo opportunity. I seen him there they're launching the ploughing championships down there, and he's walking around a fucking animal around the fucking showgrounds. Why isn't he fucking here talking to the likes of us about these fucking animals? That's what pays the bills. But no, he's up there, and the only time I ever fucking see him on any news channel or anything else is fucking when he's holding a thing that says Ploughing 2025 or fucking Safety Week or bollocks like that, instead of the nitty gritty. And I know it's the civil service, and I know there is great people that work in the Department of Agriculture, but there needs to be responsibility. Like I said, I've been trying to get that heifer into my herd. I talked to 9 different people before a sheet of paper was sent out to me, because I got through to the right person eventually by luck. No one sent it to me, it's just he answered the phone. And I have to say, whoever David is in the department in Castlebar, great man. But you have people like that who just get it, and you know, and they're not being listened to, and they get dragged down by the system. Because if you go into any of them government jobs, you just seem to be in at 8 o'clock, out at 4, not my fucking problem, I don't give a shit, which fair enough is grand, but yet the rest of us all have to be fucking dealing with this. If you're on about wanting young people to come into farming, it's fucking hard enough as it is without all this shit on top of it. Like, I'm 34 now, and this is a lot of stress, like an awful amount of stress for a young person to be having. Not sleeping at night, fucking worried about income. Like, I've lost out, probably, just a quick calculation, probably me personally, I've probably missed out on around, probably by the time you take in the contract rearing and the cattle losses and everything else and the sale, say the 10,000 I talked about at the shed, add on another fucking 10,000 for different bits and pieces. That's 20 grand that I'm down this year. That 20 grand had a place and was going to be spent, and now I have to come up with that some other way. So I just came back to the office there, and I've done a quick jot down here of quick numbers to have a rough estimate of how much this has actually cost, this outbreak on this small farm Mayo. So between rearing the cattle, future milk sales, loss, minus the compensation, this outbreak has cost €98,800. That's not including the compensation. If you include the compensation on that, you're looking at around 130, 140. This is outrageous. It can't go on. Like, it just can't keep on. We're going to run out of money. Look, ranting and raving video. There's lots of people in my position. I hope maybe it might have educated you, or, you know, got the conversation going about this, but something needs to change. Anyway, if you like the video, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.